Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and The Punisher, The Platoon, issue number 1 of, I think it was 6. This is a really serious comic. This is an amazing comic, guys. Let's see if, first off, we're going to do the comic book review. Afterwards, if you want, stick around. I'll explain some of the military terminology that was actually used in here. First off, Garth Ennis is just, my God, is there anything that this guy can't write? So, and again, excuse my voice. I talk a lot doing reviews. So yeah. So anyway, basically this is a writer who's writing about Firebase Valley Forge. This is not too long before the Tet Offensive. I'll explain that also later. Back in Vietnam, this was the Punisher's, Frank Castle, the Punisher's platoon that he was in charge of. And yeah. So we go back to when he had zero combat experience. He was just brought out. The guys, of course, are not going to respect him. He's a lieutenant, which is, I would have figured he would have just been I think that they gave multiple, I don't remember, honestly. I think that sometimes they said like he was an officer. A lot of times they said that no, he was an NCO. Meaning a non-commissioned officer, meaning not an officer. I was an NCO. I was not an officer. So, anyway, so here they have him as a second lieutenant, which is the lowest grade of officer that you could be. So literally, all the crap that the officers will get, he's the one who gets the crappiest of the crap. Anyway, after that is first lieutenant and then captain, and then it goes on from that point on. So if he ever gets some kind of promotion, plus he's infantry, so field promotions usually come fast. They're indicating that this is such a hole, this for crying out loud, a freaking hill that these guys have, and that even field promotions don't come fast out there, which is wild. And just really quick, since I said it, a field promotion is basically an area where if you have a squad or a platoon or whatever and some key people die, a field promotion means you don't go through the ranks properly. You are next in line. You've got the most time in, the most experience, the most this, that, whatever. We need a new lieutenant because this lieutenant died. You're the lieutenant now. That's how it works in the infantry. And especially when you're out in the heavy bush like this. They're saying triple canopy, meaning it's as thick a tree line as you could possibly imagine. So, like, the grass doesn't grow under those trees, like the pine barrens in freaking southern New Jersey. So, this is basically the Punisher working his way through the ranks, earning the respect of his men, and getting what he is eventually going to need to become the Punisher properly. It's a crazy, insane comic, and just, dude, I'm giving this comic, straight off the bat, I'm giving this comic an A+. This is crazy. Guys, this has nothing to do with, what do you call it? All the people who died. This has nothing to do with who was right and who was wrong. This has absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever. In fact, I believe that Garth Ennis is going to be showing a whole lot about right and wrong on both sides. Just from what, two distinct parts in this comic book, which I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be a very fair comic book. Extreme so-called patriots, meaning people who have blind faith in a country, are going to think that no, this is an unfair slant, and whatever. People are going to believe whatever they're going to believe. On top of that, guys, I'm going to give this my pick of the week because this is, and mind you, I'm the one doing these reviews. For me, this is the pick of the week. Garth Ennis, I don't know, actually, no, I should probably look up to see if this guy was ever in the military. Sounds like it. There's so much in here that, like, wow. Mind you, I was clearly never in Vietnam, not nearly old enough. But, what do you call it? Yeah, just, I obviously know many, many people who were in Vietnam from having been in the military myself. So, anyway, let's get into just some of the military terms in here to give you an idea of what's going on. Let's see, the 60. The 60 is of particular interest to me. The 60 is just the 60 gunner, the M60. I was a 60 gunner. I'm 6'5". That's my real life height. I'm pretty tall. I was always pretty thin. Not so thin now at 42, but yeah, when I was 17, I needed my mom's permission to sign up because I went in like while I was in high school. Yeah, so I was either going to be a radio operator or I was going to be a 60 gunner because I had the height for it. So, like, there was no deciding, there's no decision to be made in that except which one, am I going to be? And since I could run like crazy and I could freaking do combat roles with this heavy piece of machinery, your average M16, that's the average weapon that everybody carries, the rifle, is 7.62 pounds. I don't remember I just remember that being drilled in my head. I don't remember if that was actually fully loaded or not. It's been years since I've been in the military, guys. So, but the M60, that actually weighs 27.6 pounds, if I remember correctly. And that is belt fed. So there's no clip for that. There's no putting in a couple of rounds. No, that is belt fed. So you in here, they also mention an A gunner. Every M60 gunner has my voice is giving out. Has an A gunner. That's an assistant gunner. So while I would have to carry, I think 700 rounds on my person. Is that right? I think that's right. My assistant gunner would have an M16, and he would also have I think 1,200 rounds of ammunition on him, meaning the belts. And he would also have what they call the ammo crates full of this stuff, so that he could keep on feeding me ammunition and help me to change my barrel once in a while. Every 10 minutes or so of firing on standard firing, what is it, a 5 to 9 round burst. So I'm like leaning on the trigger just a little bit. You can't hold down the trigger because you will actually melt the barrel. It will warp. It will bend. You can't use that barrel anymore. Don't do that. So after about 10 minutes of standard fire, you got to change that barrel because it will get red hot. You have a glove for it and everything to change that barrel. And the assistant gunner, the A gunner, will do that. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the details. That was just the 60 gunner. That's particular for me because that's what I did in the service. I still had to qualify with my M16 twice a year, which was funny because I literally only used it twice a year when I qualified, and I still had to qualify with it. Otherwise, I was kicked out, literally. So anyway, they talk about the Prick 25. That's old school. I think I may have seen a Prick 25. We learned how to operate a Prick 77 at one point. This is basically was it PRK-77 was the nomenclature for it. It's basically just a radio. It's a big fat radio that you learn how to fit inside of your rucksack that you carry on your back. So it's just a big radio. I think for the Prick 77, the average distance was said to be 3 miles. If you have the longer antenna on, you can also, and you learn on your own how to make the distance much greater. Excuse me. But yeah, on average, you're not going to get 3 freaking miles out of that damn thing. So whatever. Whatever. But what else do they have in here? They have they're talking about boom. My papers. Oh, artillery and air. I think that's pretty. Oh, here they say LT. LT is they have it out here phonetically, ELL space TEE. That means lieutenant. So it's short for literally the letters L and T. So lieutenant. But they also have Kilo 4. We are Kilo 4. Kilo just means K. There's we speak the alphabet because if you just say like A, B, C, D, E, like C and E, they sound so similar on the radio, especially if there's a lot of noises. So there's a lot of squelch on the radio, meaning that sound that you hear. So you actually say letters if you have to say something. So if you instead of saying K4, you'll say Kilo 4, and you're actually supposed to like enunciate forward so that you can hear the difference. You have like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, all the way to Z, which is what do you call it? Those are our letters. Khe is just an area in for crying out loud in Vietnam. Oh, they say gook at one point. That's not a very good word. If you've never heard that before, don't use that word. It specifically means an Asian person from around that Vietnam, Cambodia area. Yeah, again, not a good word at all. I think they also use that for the Forgotten War, for Korean War also, which, yeah, just ridiculous thing to say. Anyway, they've got they got buku on here. Buku hurt. This is something that we never said in my time in the military around the Desert Storm time. What do you call it? The Desert Storm and, oh, for crying out loud, Slobodan Milosevic, what the hell? Bosnia, thank you, Bosnia-Herzegovina. But we never used that term, at least anybody I knew never used that term. But here it's spelled like it's Buku, but it's buku. And I know everybody's heard that from Full Metal Jacket and things like that. Buku, it means big. They got cannon cockers, which is anybody who uses artillery that's on the ground. What do you call it? Tanks, duh. Gunships. A lot of these I think should be pretty... Oh, at one point they say squid. Where is that? Over here they say Arclight. Arclight is basically a B-52 bomber. Anything where they can just lay in heavy ground fire. But they also say squid at one point. Squid is the military term that we use for, what do you call it? The Navy. You know what I'm saying? I've never met anybody from the Navy who took real personal injury to that. I mean, like, when you're in the military, come on. I mean, like, we hear so much crap. The drill sergeants or drill instructors, if you're a Marine, like, we hear so much crap from these guys, like 5 or 6 people on you at the same time. Like, just saying the worst possible things you can imagine. So I don't know any snowflakes that actually served. So you call a guy a squid, he'll look at you like me. I was infantry, so they would call me a grunt. You know what I'm saying? And the funny thing is, if you talk to somebody who was in who was a tanker or like artillery, they'll say, why they call you guys grunts? Like, why is that? It's like, because that's the sound you make when we run you over in our tanks. That's like, all right, jerk. But like, it's just, yeah, hazing, making fun of each other, ridiculously thick skin, almost bulletproof. But at one point I'm seeing again, it says LT in here. Just whatever. I'm pretty much done with the book. But the idea is at one point besides LT they'll say LZ. That means loading zone. So if you got a really good open area and a lot of tree cover, or natural surroundings, like I saw mountains in the distance, that is the perfect loading zone or landing zone. So yeah, they need to clear that village out. Again, I'm not particularly happy that they called in artillery under rumor of sniper fire and things like that. It's like, you don't know if some innocents hold up in there. You don't know who's in there. So unfortunately, but it's hard to bemoan anybody who's trying to save their own lives. It's no good on both sides. It's a horrible situation. I'm not sitting here trying to, make excuses for anybody. Just, it is what it is. And I'm looking and I'm seeing this is about a 15-minute long review for an amazing, worth it book. This book is, to me, again, this is an incredible book. I can't wait to own it. I think that I might actually get it on trade paperback, besides owning each individual issue, just because, like, literally, this seems like a good book, and it's too early to say if I'm really going to do that, but like, that's my feeling right now. This is a great book, and wow, I'm going to leave it at that. Guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, class dismissed.